So I'm going to try and do the highlights from Chapter 1, Section 2. Um, so there are types of data, and there are levels of measurement. Um, so, so types of data are either qualitative or quantitative. Qualitative qualities, color of hair, color of eyes, male, female, um, uh, color black. So they're often physical characteristics. Um, and then quantitative are numerical things. Uh, and you can argue sometimes one blends into the other, but you know, weight, height, um, how many, those are quantities. And then you have levels of measurement. There are four levels of measurement. And they're kind of stacked down. So there's nominal, there's ordinal, there's interval, and then there's ratio. And nominal is in name only. You're just looking at color of hair, color of eyes. There's very little we can do with the data. We can't add and subtract in nominal data. Um, uh, it's the one spot that mode becomes very important, the most frequent. Um, Ordinal data, um, uh, and let me back up real quick. Nominal data is always qualitative. Ordinal data can be both qualitative and quantitative. It tends to, you know, be in both categories. Um, there's not a lot of meaning to the data in terms of being able to add and subtract or multiply or divide, but you can rank. So when I was a kid coming out of college, ER, Cheers, Friends, these were television shows that were popular, and so they would get a count of who thought, they'd take 10 million people and they'd see who was, um, or which shows were the favorites, and the way they would do it is by counting the number of people, and so you just get this count. Adding the data doesn't really make any sense. If there are 30 people that are for Friends and there's 40 people that's for ER, and you add them, you don't get the other show. It doesn't make sense. So the data can be qualitative or it can be quantitative, again, for ordinal. Interval and ratio are quantitative data types. The difference between them is interval, it makes sense to add and subtract, but it doesn't make sense to multiply or divide. And ratio, you can do all four operations. And there's also this idea of mathematical zero. Mathematical zero makes sense in ratio, but not necessarily in interval. And I have some examples I'll repeat. I know that I have them in the document as well, but I'll kind of talk about them a bit more. So mathematical zero is the absence of. So if I'm talking about dollars in my wallet, I have none in there. That is the absence of. That is mathematical zero. But if I talk about temperature, the temperature zero, that is an actual temperature. That is not the absence of temperature. If I'm in golf, and I'm a horrible golfer, so I've never ever done this. You shoot par. That means that your score is zero. You're not above or you're not below. You're at par. That zero is not mathematical. It's not the absence of. So you have that in those two levels. But probably the fastest way to tell is through doubling. And so I talk about temperature in this one. And if it's 0 degrees, and let's not do 0 because I can't double it. So I'm going to do 1 degree. How are you going to dress when it's 1 degree? Then you ask the question, how are you going to dress when it's 2 degrees? Well, you're probably going to dress the same. But I did double that number. We've doubled the temperature. But if I talk about 50 degrees and 100 degrees, well, 50 degrees I'm probably wearing a sweater, but maybe shorts, probably jeans, but I'm not overly dressed. 100 degrees, I'm in a tank top and shorts. Probably slides. I'm not wearing socks. I run really warm, so I don't want a ton of heavy stuff on me. So there's no change in my behavior when it's 1 degree to 2 degrees. That that's a doubling. But there's a whole lot of change when I double from 50 to 100. Now, that means doubling is not making sense, so it's interval. If we talk about ratio and we talk about dollars in the wallet, if I have $1 in my wallet and I'm thinking about being able to buy a pack of gum, and I have $2 in my wallet, now I've doubled my ability to buy packs of gum. Similarly, if I go from $50 to $100, I've doubled my ability to buy packs of gum. I'm able to get twice as many packs of gum. And so that's a ratio level of measurement. So that doubling effect holds, and you have to have mathematical zero in there, the absence of. Okay, hopefully that's a little bit clear, and I will hope you have a good day.